Hello and welcome to part 3 of this video series. This is actually the fourth time I think that I've tried to record this. Had some computer issues. I don't know if there was something with the template or if it was on maybe a bad spot on my hard drive or what was going on, but every time I tried to record it, everything would freeze up. I would lose the drive. The metronome wouldn't work. Something really weird was happening. So what I did was I recreated the template, moved it to another spot, and here we go. But I'm not using the full template. I'm just using the engine template for now. If I need to add anything from either the play template or the contact template, I will just add those tracks in as we go instead of just having them readily available. So you may see that happen. So as a quick reminder, we've got our patch list over here that I put on my other monitor. And I've really debated whether I should do that or I should hide it because, it's just this big white glob coming from my other monitor, which is a 43-inch television. So that's a lot of white coming at me. And maybe just kind of like minimizing it and, having my background on there, which is far more pleasant to look at than a giant blank spreadsheet. I have, unfortunately, what I wanted to do with this originally was I wanted to walk you guys through all the composing steps. But because of the video issues, I had already started working on composing the song a little bit, getting some ideas of the foundation I wanted to lay. So unfortunately, that's already happened. But I'll kind of walk you through what I remember of where I was at. So I'm just going to go ahead and arm my track. I'm on track 1. I'm going to show you the piano. So here we have track 1 initialized in Cakewalk. That's where my MIDI is going to come from when I hit the keyboard. And it's going to go through here, channel 1 in Engine, and my first patch in Nada. So I think what I'm going to do for the sake of the fact that I'm not used to writing and talking and explaining things, I just kind of get into my zone and do my thing. So for that and for your guys' sake, I'm going to keep this simple and probably keep the whole song in C. I might divert from that a little bit, but I think that'll at least give you a good idea of the process and how I do. And then, of course, once we get into the mixing and mastering phase, all bets are off because it's all different from there anyway. So the first thing that I did was just strike a major C chord. Okay, that's really atmospheric, has like a long decay, so you're not in a rush to hit the next chord. You can let it breathe a little bit, which is what you really want to do. You don't want to be stacking chords like this on top of each other, because with that air rush sound being so strong, it's going to get muddy really fast. So you just want to keep things simple. But I'm not sure that I like that octave, because it's kind of in the middle between being rich and deep and melodic. So hear this again. Not bad. I really love that, but I don't think that's where I want to go. So I'm going to go an octave up and an octave down. So here's the octave up. A lot more atmosphere and melody, and then I'm going to go an octave down, but just on the root note. So we put those together, and this is what we get. As opposed to... So we have a little bit more dynamic range to work with. We have something that's a little more interesting. But as I'm listening to this, and I love that piano decay, but I don't think I want that for the foundational side of the song. So I'm just going to go over here. I love this. This is so fast, and just drop that right out to 0%. Very easy. It's simple in Contact to do that too, but you have to go into tools, or a lot of the individual programs that you'll load into Contact, they just require individual attention. It's just all right on the screen, which is one of the things I love about Eduardo's libraries, as I've talked about in the other videos, is the simplicity, the fact that everything's right there at my fingertips. I don't have to go digging through menus and submenus to try and get access to everything. Pretty much everything I want is right there. And while there are some of those submenus, they aren't as immediately as important for a composer. They're usually things that I would probably, maybe double check before I bounce it to a track or whatever. But I can pretty much hear, based on everything that's on this screen, can control the sound and get what I want out of it. So let's go ahead and set a tempo. I've got it at 120 here, but I already know that's too much. I think 110 is probably going to work for this, but let's just see. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I always do a count in measure. You could do this two ways. You could program your metronome to have a count in measure. You could do that as many measures as you want. 1, 2, 4, 16, doesn't matter. Wherever you're comfortable starting it. And that will start no matter what measure your cursor is on. So if your cursor is on measure 16, and you say, okay, I want to start recording here, it's going to give you that number measure count. So if you have a one measure count, it will go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that bar will start moving from measure 16. Obviously, we're starting from the beginning because we don't have anything yet and we don't need a minute of blank space. That would just be ridiculous. If we decided we wanted to add something before the part that we're going to record right now, then we can always slide it over and leave an opening for something else to come in. So when you're working with MIDI, you have a lot more control. You can still do it with audio, but it does lock you into some creative decisions if you've already bounced it to audio and then you decide you want to add things. So working with MIDI for audio for a lot of it is really the best way to go. Sometimes you have to bounce a track if you're using a certain effect or like a delay or something and you need to hear that when you're recording the other tracks. You may need to go ahead and bounce that track to an audio track so you can add that delay to it. You don't have a lot of effects available in MIDI, so some of those more specific things could be easier if you're listening to the audio track with that effect on it as you create the rest of the song. If you need to change it, you can always delete the audio track, change the MIDI, rebounce that track. So you still have full creative freedom. It's just what's the simplest way to get there? You know, how can I write my song in the least amount of time or the most efficient use of my time? Because, you know, I got other songs to write, especially if I'm making a whole album, which I'm getting close to starting another album. So, since, like I said, since I've already got part of this worked out, I'm just going to go ahead and record it. And we'll go from there. So again, starting with the root C note and the 1, 3, 5 chord. Okay, I think my timing was just absolutely horrible on that. So I'm going to record that again. One of the challenges with working with sounds that have a long decay is that you aren't in a rush to move to the next chord. Like I said, you want to let it breathe, but it's also easy to lose your count. And even though you hear an uptick on the one so that you know when you're starting, you know, the measure, it still can be a little bit difficult. You can still lose your way very easily. I've had to record parts over and over because I just lose the count of it, especially if they're like I'm doing mental sauna music and some of the passages can be really long. I'll completely lose count of where I'm at and then things won't come out in an even 4 if I wanted to. It might come out in 3 or 6 or 7. So very important to keep counting, keep track of where you're at. You also do a lot of times, like right now, I normally wouldn't have this Nada logo up. I have it there basically so that you guys can follow along. So that gives us a good start. Now I think though I want to have some of the piano in there. I just don't want to have it for the whole thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take our secondary pad, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the pad out of it. Now I don't know which ones are which here, so I'm just going to drop a couple and see what we're left with. So we still got a little bit of that breath. Just want to get rid of the wind a little bit. Maybe add a little more atmosphere because it's really the wind that's the thing. Okay. Oh, well, that's why, because I'm on the wrong damn thing. Okay, so that's not going to help anything. So now I'm just going to reload that patch. That'll make it easier. So then we go back to the initial settings and I'll just take the piano out again because I don't know what they were now. I've screwed them all up. And there we go. So I'm just going to take the piano out of 1. Now we're back on 2. And I was wondering, like, why isn't this sounding any different? Well, that's because I was on the wrong damn thing. So now we're on 2. Still have that piano, right? You see now the wind has moved over here. So we're going to take that out. Yeah, I think I could take the pad out too because really all we want is that piano, right? And the delay. I love that delay on there. It sounds amazing. I don't know if you can hear it depending on the system you're using, but it's kind of ping-ponging back and forth between the left and the right ear a little bit, but it's just got that really nice layered delay where you hit it and it just kind of, hits itself into oblivion, which I absolutely love. So I really just want to put some accents on here. I don't want all the pads and stuff again, so really we're just going to change this to where it's really just the piano. So I'm just going to change this now to piano because that's really what our function is. And then on my sheet, it's not really a pad anymore. Now it's just a piano. If I could spell, that's usually helpful. See, this is what I mean. Like, I'm not used to working and talking at the same time. And there's people like, well, I just want to watch you work. I'm like, you don't understand. It is not that simple for me. That's not a skill that I have, but it's one that I'm growing as I'm doing these videos. And in a way, that's part of why I wanted to do these videos so that I can teach a little bit or educate or whatever when I can. And if I don't have the practice of doing that, obviously I wouldn't be good in front of live people or whatever situation I might find myself in. So that being the case, we've got our basic idea. So let's just add in a little bit and we can see here where our chords are, but I know that they're 4 bars each. So I'm just going to start in. So I really only wanted it on those sections right there. I didn't want to cover the whole thing. That gets a bit stale, predictable, annoying. But to accomplish that, I had to do it on 2 separate patches. So that's that. Now that, of course, causes us to lose our second pad for foundation, which when we pick these patches, if you remember, I said I wanted this patch, I wanted the alternate version of this patch or an alternate version of this patch, and use those to trade off back and forth as the foundation of the song. And then we've got one more, which is this one right here. So that gives us our second one now, since we're using channel number 2 for different overtones and effects. So we may find as we go through this that we do need another foundational patch to replace number 2. So I'm not going to work with number 3 right now because basically that is that's an alternate pad. So I'm looking at maybe throwing in some harp. I'm just going in order, not for any particular reason, except that they're in order and it just helps me keep track. If I were writing the song, harp I think would be a reasonable choice. But I want to go down here and make sure that I'm looking at the right thing. So we go down to harp, we click on it, boom, we've got harps. Now we know we're on the right screen before I start changing stuff and making it worse. And let's just give a quick run through of that. In a way, it almost sounds a bit like a harpsichord and not like a stringed harp so much. But I think for something like this, because we're trying to keep it light, I think maybe something more in the upper register and a little more plucky might be nice. and probably again don't want to start at the beginning of this. So I'm just going to go ahead and change this to whole notes for now, because I want to be a whole measure ahead. So it's going to give me that blank count in. Actually, it'll just start from here because I didn't program a pre-count. So it's just going to give me this one count in, and then I'll play a little something on the harp, and we'll see how that goes. What would help if I hit record, wouldn't it? That's why I don't do these things. That's why I don't record these things. Do it again. Note when you're so far in and you're so close. Now I could keep like part of that performance and just record the second half, but honestly it takes longer to cut out part of it and you know, get everything where it needs to go and then chop in. So I'm just going to go ahead and re-record it. It's easier. Okay, now you could hear that I played a spot of that very poorly. Let's find that. Yeah, right there. So we want to just go ahead and smooth out that performance a little bit. So I'm just going to go ahead and quantize that. Now those are basically quarter notes, but I don't want to go all the way to quarter notes. I want to keep it pretty close. So let's see what this does. So that's playing a lot better than I did. So that fixes that right there. Very, very nice. Let's see if there's anything else we want to add to that. Now, I might actually have added that harp a little bit too early. I'm probably going to want to do another pass. And first of all, just let the first part breathe and then maybe the second part come in with that. But let's take a listen to Music Box here and see if we want to add anything there. Did I never change that? I swear. Oh, you know what? I probably didn't because I'm in a different template now. I didn't. Okay, so I just got to switch this over so that it goes to engine and then number 5. All right, there we go. Okay, I don't think I'm going to use that right now. I think what I'm going to do is this. Now, I don't normally recommend or condone copying because for me, I think it takes away from the humanity of the performance because you're going to play it differently every time. If you had live musicians performing it, every pass, even if they're playing the same thing, is going to sound a little bit different. So I don't normally recommend what I'm about to do right now, but that's not going to stop me from doing it anyway. But to copy, what we need to do is we need to make sure that the notes start at the beginning of the measure. Otherwise, pasting even a slight bit off, like we see here, is going to throw everything off. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select the intro notes there, and I'm going to quantize them so that they start right at the beginning of the measure. Boom. Now the audio actually starts at the beginning. But again, if you don't move these over, then you're going to have a problem. So I'm just going to lock those in where they go, right on the measure. So now I'm just going to take this and this and this. And like I said, when I'm normally songwriting, I don't do this, but this could be hours and hours of me creating. So what I want to do is just narrow down the amount of time you're sitting here watching me replicate things. So I'm going to go ahead and copy it. And I'm going to do it 3 times. Because I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the harp off the first one. and just make the first one just very open and ambient. When we get to the second pass, we'll have the harp. And then when we get to the third pass, we'll add the music box in. So we just went from a 37-second song. Boom, we're a minute and 46 seconds in. Now, please do understand that I do not normally work this way. The only time I typically copy and paste is if I'm working under a very strict deadline for a project and I just don't have time to play every instrument, every track, and I have to do a little bit of editing in that way. It's pretty rare because I usually start pretty early on projects and leave myself enough room for catastrophes, calamities, all kinds of things. And they have happened to me many times. If you guys read my book, Becoming an Indie Film Composer, you'll see that all over the place. Things have happened in there. You just throw a pretty nasty wrench in there. So you got to leave yourself room for that. Don't procrastinate and wait till the last minute. Okay, so for the third one here, we want to go ahead and add in some music box, but I actually want to start adding it at the beginning. So we're going to go here to music box. We're going to arm that track, but first we're going to save. Way too many glitches and things for me not to be saving left and right. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this again. And where should I put it? I'm just going to move it over here. I'll move this over here so we can see where we're at. And let's see how well I play this, because that is always the issue. I actually don't think that was too bad. Let's see. Okay, pretty light and nice. And again, I'm going to go ahead and save this before things get crazy. So minute and 44 in, we probably need some kind of change, something that will just maybe even keep us in the same cloud, but maybe give us a little bit different color, a little different, shadow or not shadow of sunlight, but maybe make it a little more golden sunlight or something like that. So we're going to go back to the next pad now, the one that we haven't used before, and let's see how this one sounds in that original octave. I said, let's see how it sounds. Oh, you know why? That solo button was on and it shouldn't have been. Okay. See, these are the fun things that happen when you're composing. Okay, maybe we'll play something a little bit different though. Instead of, let's see. Yeah, I'm not really sure that resolves anything. Let's try this. me bring engine back up so you can follow along. I know you are as excited as I am. Okay, so we're on 3, which is the stillness, right? Huh, I put the part instead of the title of the patch there. Well, I'm just going to chalk that up to age. Never want to save as unless I'm changing the file type. I just want to save. There we go. Okay, so let's try this. I think this will keep within the spirit of the song, but also give us something a little bit different. Let's see, am I armed here? Yes. Okay, here we go. And that wasn't what I played a minute ago. Also, I want to check the octave. Now I kind of like going back down to the middle. All right, let me try that again. I think that was nice. I think that gave us something a little bit different to work with. Now I'm trying to remember what the balafon sounded like. Oh, you know what? I should go to see what our range is here. Is this another one I never changed? Nope. Engine 5. 6. Oh, it is 6. Yeah. All right, that's right. Okay, let's try this again. Interesting. That's quite a dynamic range for an instrument like this too. That's actually sampled live. I mean, you can create that kind of thing in the studio all the time, but to actually have that as a live sampled instrument, that's got quite a range to it, I will say. Okay, so let's go back a little bit though and introduce this instrument before we're introducing it. So I'll get that out of my way for a second. Start here. I'm going to save because we've done stuff. Then I'm going to start here and let's see. That could work. Except, yeah. I mean, I'm writing it. You think I'd know how to play it? I think I'm just distracted. So I think I'm going to go back to the original idea and just kind of blend it into the next section. So that was better, but let's think we'll do eighths to start, see how that goes. Oh, let's save this first. Okay, and that'll resolve itself nicely if we go back to a C chord, which we probably will. But I think it'd be nice to reintroduce the piano a little bit here. And let's see where I want to go. So many choices. That is sometimes part of the problem. You can really overthink things. So I think I'm going to go with a little bit lower tone because we've got some good mid and upper range here, and see how that sounds. So something very simple, you know, not too bad at all. I think we'll probably stop for the day because I was really trying to keep these videos around like 25 minutes or so. But let's just do a quick recap as to what we've done so far before we get to the next section. that's a really nice start, I think, for a good ambient track, which is something I write a lot of. Maybe one of these days I'll do a video on how I do horror music. That could be fun too. But for now, that will give you a good foundation for us to start with. I would say, 2.5 minutes into a song, maybe it'll be around 4 minutes or so. I don't know. We'll see. I could get some wild thing in my mind and take this in a completely different direction. Probably not. But you never know. That's another bit of beauty in the world of composing, is that anything can change at any time, unless you're writing for hire, in which they can change anything anytime, and they will. So for now, I think I'll wrap up this video. We will see you in part 4 as we continue with composing the song.